Welcome to the Give for Grouse podcast, dedicated to giving the ruffed grouse a voice by promoting sound wildlife management, advocating for forest health, and championing all things conservation. Now let's get to the show with Cody Altizer and Eric Long. As mentioned, this is the Give for Grouse podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Long, my brother from another mother down in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Mr. Cody Altizer. Now, how are you doing today, Mr. Altizer?
I'm tired.
I know you're tired, man. You've been hitting the blind pretty hard, trying to get some footage of one of our favorite species, the ruffed grouse.
I know it. I didn't. The mornings are getting earlier because the days
because it gets
longer.
lighter.
I know.
Yeah.
The 4 a.m. mornings are turning into 3. I haven't looked in the mirror today.
So, you look like hell.
It's truly like I got on this call, and I'm looking at my dude. Guy looks tired, man.
You got bags on your eyes.
I know.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm here. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, before we get into this incredible podcast that we're about to embark on, we got a little homework time. And since you're pretty tired, I will do what I can, and you fill in the mistakes that I'm about to make. First things first, if you want some shirts, we got T-shirts, we got hoodies with our favorite mascot, Ruffed Grouse holding a chainsaw. Shirts, same size, order the same size. The hoodies might want to scale up a size because of sizing and shrinkage and all that stuff. Shirts are $25, $30 for the hoodies. And all you have to do, Cody, is what? Just DM us, right?
DM us. Tell us what you want and what size.
Yeah. On Instagram, correct?
Anywhere. Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram. Well, that's all we really have. So I guess that's yeah. Unless you got Cody's cell number, feel free to text him anytime you want to.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, if you leave us a 5-star review, you will, and show us proof and send us your address. We will send you your choice of either the Chip or Dale, or you can get this magical little critter right here. Brian, you got to love this, correct? Come on now, man. It's a bobwhite quail holding a drift torch. And I think he's saying, where do you want me on the line? That's what he's saying. Where you want me, boss? So, anyway.
Sent one to Millersburg today.
What's that?
Sent one to Millersburg today.
You sent one to Millersburg, Ohio. Yebish, even gut. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to Jared Shoup.
Don't know Jared
Know
Shoup.
that name?
No.
If I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, Shoup.
Right? I guess, right? Yeah.
Millersburg, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Awesome. Representing the 440. That's right. So, yeah. Yeah. And of course, the last part of business that we have is our billboard campaign. We are so close to wrapping this thing up. And as per usual, do what you can with what you have. Send us anything that you would like to donate to this billboard campaign so we can wrap this thing up. I think we're just shy of above $1,000, right, Cody? And then,
right.
Man, 6 months have actually flown by, and we're going to be doing the next billboard in a different location, different design, and we've seen the design, and it is bad. You know what? Bad dupa. Cool. Looks really cool. Cool. So
it's more inclusive. For all the woodland wildlife species of Appalachia. It's pretty cool timing because it'll, I think, goes up maybe the middle of May, within the next month.
Yeah.
And we're close to achieving the fundraising goal. So, appreciate everybody who's donated so far, but on social media and stuff, make another little round with the new design and stuff going up. But it's got a grouse, ruffed grouse, obviously, fawn, whitetail fawn, I believe a monarch butterfly,
gold wing,
laurel, flower, and a regenerating oak, young forest with a golden warbler hanging out.
Warbler? Yeah. Talons out.
Did you notice what wildlife species did not make the cut?
You got to hold it back. We'll get there.
Foreshadowing.
We're foreshadowing. Yes, we will get there. Yes. But with that being said, that wraps up basically our homework. Do what you can, what you have. Send us whatever so we can wrap this up so we can now start asking you for money for something else. But we have a very special guest. This is going to be a real fun podcast. It's supposed to be lighthearted, obviously. I set rules. We'll go over those rules here in a little bit. But I have a great dear friend of mine from way back from college. His name is Mr. Brian Banbury. Brian, I will let you have the floor in a sense of your background to tell everybody. But Brian, we have a billboard. Isn't that cool?
That's pretty darn cool. Like
Yeah.
driving down the road and looking up at that thing, and you didn't tell the whole story. Like, we were not just go back years ago. We're college roommates. College
Yeah.
roommates. So to go from those days, for me to know you back then and
Yes.
know that you were responsible for a billboard, like, holy cow. Like, Erica's
Where it's
baby.
come.
I'm so proud of you. So
Yeah.
proud.
You're already going to get muted here in a little bit, so keep it up. So, but no, we'll tell stories on another day. All right.
Okay.
Now, Brian would love to tell you, and he is responsible for getting my life back on track. It was in college. I was on. I'll be on. Yeah, we'll just tell a little snippet of it. I was on Cody. I was on academic probation, man. I was ready to fail out, and I remember walking out of the one main building, and I was like, had to come in Jesus meeting with myself. Like, you either go home or you get your stuff together. And I remember looking down in the parking lot, and there's Brian Banbury. And I remember running down to him and saying, Brian, hey, you want to be roommates? Because I know Brian was exceptional, so intelligent and stuff. He was a walking encyclopedia, very motivated person. It's like, I need to grab a hold of him. And he did. He did. He made me study, made me get stuff along the way. We had some fun, a lot of stories and stuff. But he just loves to tell that story that he is responsible for my life. And
I
there's a lot of good things with that, a lot of bad things.
I want none of the responsibility. Like, none of it.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, Brian and I go way back, and we've got over a 30-year career in conservation. But Brian, why don't you just quickly the Cliff Note version of who you are, what you do, man?
Yeah. So just, like a lot of kids, big wildlife kid growing up, everything from salamanders in the creeks to mushroom hunting to, hunting anything you could lawfully hunt, chasing deer and turkeys and grouse and squirrels and you name it, just any excuse to be outside. Our generation was obviously far less of the technical generation. We didn't have cell phones and laptops and all the devices that they have today.
Mm-hmm.
When I remember having to literally get up off of the couch to change the television station,
I know.
and depending on
channels,
which way the antenna was pointed, like, are we going to get this today or not? So
right, 3 channels.
So grew up doing that. Wanted to do something that I was passionate about, something that I loved. So conservation, wildlife management, education, definitely something, I've been in my whole life. I've worked in my 34th year of my career, working in the field, work for government, taught wildlife related topics at the college level, do a whole bunch of the stuff on my own time. So, you guys will get this, like, when you choose that kind of path, it's not really your career. It's literally your way of life. And the career part is just something you're getting paid for to pay the bills. Like, the clock doesn't really stop. You might switch gears or do something different, but when you're in this kind of field, it's just something that's who you are. It's not a 9-to-5 type of thing. Like, you can never turn it off. So,
yeah,
and outside of that, now I'm, involved. You can maybe see some of the, here, let me scoot out of the way. Like, I'm out in my taxidermy shop. So, on the weekend, a lot of times when I'm not working towards conservation, like, I'm in my shop playing around with bird taxidermy. So, it's just something like that never stops. So
Yeah.
in a good way, a lot of people, there's a lot of people in this world that get bad addictions, right? Like it's a real thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people luckily choose to fill that addictive side with this type of stuff, whether
Yeah.
taxidermy or wildlife management or teaching others, or it's still the same thing. I always told my wife a long time ago, it's like, if a man doesn't get some good hobbies, like, he's going to end up with some bad ones. That's just how mankind is set
Right.
up to
Right.
work.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
So
mean, just been in it to win it for a number of years, and probably do it to the day they put me in the ground.
yeah, and I want to brag on you real quick. Brian is his taxidermy is just absolutely incredible. He's got accolades. He's got a whole side of his office there that just can't fit any more awards from his work and stuff. But he's not very good at mounting bobwhite quail from Kansas. He's really slow. He's just real bad at that part of it. But
Yeah,
other than that,
it's the free mounts that take me longer.
which is horseshit. By the way. Yeah. Hey, moving on. That's your second strike. You'll be muted next. So anyway,
We haven't even started yet.
we haven't even started yet. Real quick story. It's funny. This sums up Brian and I's relationship growing up through conservation. So Brian was, I think, a first year at a state park, and he was a naturalist. So he had the outfit on, the hat, the Smokey Bear hat. Brian was just really good at what he does. He was a naturalist for the state park, and I volunteered for college with him. And it was a big day at state park. A bunch of people come in and everything, and I was helping Brian out. And we had to cook cornbread, Cody. So we had to cook cornbread. He doesn't know how to cook cornbread. I don't know how to cook cornbread. He doesn't know what a teaspoon is. I don't know what a tablespoon is. We cooked this stuff, and we used so much salt. We baked it, fed it to the people, and everybody was like, I think people instantly had a stroke or heart attack from all the salt.
But listen, like you got to tell the whole thing. In fairness, we also served them a big pot of beans in a kettle, and when you broke that cornbread up in that pot of beans in the kettle, perfect. Like win in the day. Like, you don't eat it by itself. You got to put it in the cornbread. You
got to soak it. Got to dilute it a little bit.
You put that in those beans. Yeah. The beans needed salt. It was a perfect winning combination.
Yes. So that sums up what we're doing. So, but anyway, get to the meat of what today is. It's a friendly, and I emphasize friendly debate. And this is something Cody and I have just subtly put in there from time to time in the podcast. And it is basically, who is the true king of spring? Some say the wild turkey, for obvious reasons, and others, the smarter people, the more intellectual people, like to say the ruffed grouse is a true king of spring. So once and for all, we're going to put it to sleep. That's why I brought Brian in. He's obviously he's a big turkey hunter. For those that watch it, you can see his little prop right there, his little pet turkey, some shrooms and stuff. Brian's a really good turkey hunter. He's a really actually very good voice for the wild turkey for today. And of course, we got in a small corner, weighing in around 200 pounds, soaking wet, Mr. Cody Altizer. He will be representing the wild ruffed grouse today. And jokingly, this is going to be all fun, lighthearted, but it's going to be, if you actually listen, it's going to be some really good storytelling, really good, big, I would say, moments of conservation amongst all the laughter here. So, but I'm going to be non-biased. I'm going to actually stay out of it. I will chime in from time to time, especially if I don't like the direction something's going in. You either will be muted, chastised, or anything. There are no rules. The Fight Club. Mm-hmm. So, other than mentioning each other's moms, I think we're all good to go. So, so today, like I said, today is just going to be a friendly debate, because we always talk about who the true king of spring is, Cody and I, and we thought it'd be a good idea to bring in, especially this time of year, the wild turkey. So we're going to keep this somewhat not long-winded and stuff like that. Okay, again, this is going to be fun. We don't want to bore everybody, but I want to give an opening statement. Hopefully, you guys are ready for your little opening statements before we get this debate on, and then we're going to make it up as we go. So, I'm going to again, Brian Banbury is going to be representing the wild turkey, Cody the ruffed grouse. Did I explain myself enough to you, gentlemen? Do you understand the rules to this friendly debate? Okay, Brian, since you are a guest, I'm going to let you choose to see who wants to go first. Okay, since you are our guest. If you would like to go first, you can. If Cody, you can make Cody do it.
I'm going to defer to the second half.
No!
Oh.
I like this already. All right, Mr. Altizer, what says you?
Opening statement for the Ruffed Grouse being the true king of spring, as Eric mentioned. Mostly lighthearted, but throughout all this, and as I'm sure Brian will agree, both species are so iconic. And it's really just what moves the needle for you personally. However, the wild turkey does not move the needle for me at all. The ruffed grouse moves the needle for me significantly. I believe the ruffed grouse is a true king of spring for a number of different reasons. Number one, and this is textbook jargon, but it is the most widely distributed game bird in North America. Which sounds cool to say and carries a lot of weight, as I think it should. And when you think about the ruffed grouse and its home range, from North Georgia, not too far north of Atlanta, Georgia. So you're thinking about the Atlanta Braves, the Atlanta Falcons. You're thinking about Georgia football, SEC football. That's what the ruffed grouse occupies as its home range. Most states and provinces in between, all the way north to Alaska, where there's 24 hours of daylight during the summer, 24 hours of darkness almost during the winter. So think about the discrepancy between its northernmost range and its southernmost range, and it's the same species. I may mispronounce the first, Banassa umbellus. Yes. It is the same bird from North Georgia to the Yukon to Alaska, the boreal forests in Canada, the Great Lakes, the Appalachian Mountains here in Virginia, eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, and everywhere in between. I think it's a more beautiful bird. I think it's a more romantic bird. And all that it represents, its management, it's the hunting aspect, everything that it represents as a species, I think is more romantic, carries more weight, and is just more iconic and beautiful than the wild turkey. And again, I like the wild turkey. I don't love it like I do the ruffed grouse. But what makes the ruffed grouse the true king of spring to me is, to brag on myself, I've been a lot of places all over the world, pointed the camera at a lot of different animals on many different countries, on many different continents. I have found few animals who are as brave and as proud of themselves as a male ruffed grouse on a drumming log during the spring, especially relative to its size. A pound and a half maybe. A chicken, a teeny tiny bird, will hop on a log, a rock, a dirt mound, and from an hour before the sun comes up, sometimes all day, he hops on that log, and he is proud of himself. He is proud of his species. He is telling all the dudes to stay away. He's looking for 2 F's. You can fill in the blanks. For the ladies, that represents an F. For the dudes, the F represents fight. And he is as proud of himself as you'll ever find. It took you a minute there to catch it.
It took me like, what the hell's the first step?
A little delayed here. Just tell everybody the internet.
I was on that right away, just so you know.
Internet delay there in Ohio.
Sorry, carry on.
And to piggyback on that, this will wrap up my opening statement. Benjamin, our country's bird, national bird, is the American eagle. Benjamin Franklin said it should be the wild turkey. It should be the ruffed grouse, because nothing represents being an American more. Nothing is as emblematic as an American idealism as a ruffed grouse, to be as brave and as proud in oneself, in one species, or as in your country. The parallels between being a ruffed grouse on a drumming log during the spring and being a proud, true American.
Okay. Well, Brian, thanks for coming on. I think we're done here. Anyway, so very well said. Brian, I will comment on each other's opening statements, but first, Brian, or firstly, we'll have Brian. What says you?
So first of all, I just want to start off with Cody is absolutely adorable. Like he's just adorable. Like this is it's going to be hard, right? I'm definitely going to keep it nice here because he just seems like a very well spoken, like a nice young man. Like he comes from a good upbringing. This is going to be tough, and I want anybody in the listening audience to know this. Like I was chosen to defend the wild turkey as the king of spring. So absolutely no shade to Ruffed Grouse. Like I think the difference between Cody and I, there's some other things, handsomeness, things like that. But one of the big differences I would say between Cody and I is I've actually pursued and harvested both. Like I grew up when I was in college. When I was in college, like I was chasing both. Like I literally grouse meat helped me get through college, especially that first year before you and I actually even met each other. But I mean, I grouse hunted a lot, so I love the rough grouse. So I don't want anyone to misconstrue this, but I've almost already won this thing without saying a word. We can take everything Cody just said and completely apply the wild turkey to almost every comment he made. I mean, for him to even go into the fact of a ruffed grouse being America's bird, like you got to be careful with that. Like there could be a credibility issue here, like you got to think about if we were talking like, listen, if this podcast was taking place in Canada, like you betcha, like King of Spring in Canada. You know why? Wild turkeys aren't in Canada. They're not there. But I mean, sitting down here, it's almost like saying Molson's the king of beers or Canada's good at hockey. We Americans know better, right? Wild turkeys are in 49 of 50 states. 49 of 50 states. The only thing that they're missing is Alaska here. It's in every state. Look at the range map. Like listeners, when you're down here, it's a Google search. Range of the wild turkey, range of the ruffed grouse. The ruffed grouse maybe can claim like 28 to 30 states, but if you look at it, it's this tiny little band. Like in some of these states, it's only like a couple townships. Like it's not, turkey's head. A turkey's head is what? Red, white, and blue. Red, white, blue. Like, how do you get any more American than that? Like, this thing is coming out the egg waving a flag. So, I mean, and Ben Franklin, rightfully so. Wild turkey, the national bird. Why? At the time, remember, folks, we didn't have Alaska. It's found in every state of the Union back then. So, yeah, I mean, wild turkey is brave. But in fairness, Cody has already compared this thing to a chicken. Like, we can't have a chicken being the king of anything except KFC. So, I mean, you look at the wild, it's 20 pounds. It's 20 pounds, like a turkey would dog stomp a ruffed grouse. And yes, there's one species. And I'm going to pull out the scientific name as well. Meleagris gallopavo has 6 different subspecies in North America. All different tail covers. One of them looks like a peacock. A peacock, for goodness sake. And no grouse that looks like a peacock. You cannot go shoot a peacock-looking grouse. You can shoot a peacock-looking turkey.
Okay. All right, are you
done? All right. I'm calming down.
Okay.
I'm calming down. Let me catch my breath.
Okay.
That's just getting started. That's just the first 30 minutes.
All right. So, with that being said, I'm going to push back just on each thing here.
You can't. You're a moderator. You're not allowed to push back.
I make the rules, and the rules are being made up.
I already told you this is not going to be a home. This is not a home game.
No, it's not.
We're already coming on to enemy territory here.
This is far from enemy territory.
You're 2 for 1. 2 against 1.
You're not a safe space, but it's 1.5 versus 1. So before we move on, the one thing that I will speak up for the ruffed grouse, and I will speak up for the wild turkey too, obviously, but the ruffed grouse, you brought up, Cody brought up that it is one subspecies with two color phases. So I would say that, you know, in God's creation, he just looked at it and goes, well, all right, I don't need to make something better that's already great. Where the wild turkey, obviously God said, I can't get this right. I just can't get this right. So I had a little brown here, a little tan, a little white. It just, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So that's what I got for that. But both of you had some very wise things to say. Brian, you do make a good point on a lot of issues. So Mr. Cody is going to have to step up his game a little bit here, because to the person that doesn't know, he's made some good points, Cody. You're gonna have to,
Well,
gonna have to
again,
step up the
it's
game.
all in how you look at it, because I had a feeling he would pull that out about
Oh yeah,
turkeys taking up 49 states and
Yeah.
not being as widely distributed. He did leave that part out, but occupying more states. So 6-1. I mean, it's all in how you look
Yeah.
at it.
yeah.
I mean, to me, I hear that, and I just hear that it's a fair weather bird. It's not tough enough to live up north. It's not tough
No.
enough to live up high in the mountains at higher elevations. You can't. Turkeys roost in trees. There are no trees. There can be no turkeys. Ruffed grouse can roost in a tree. Ruffed grouse can roost up underneath a log. Up in the higher elevations where there is significant snowfall, little guys will just bury themselves in the snow. To me, it speaks to toughness. And again, no knock to the wild turkey, but they like the sun, they like the warmth, they like to strut around in pretty green fields during the spring. Ruffed grouse, they ride out the winter in the snow. I mean, come on.
Right.
That speaks to pure toughness, adaptability. I don't think either bird is super smart. I think they're both pretty clever. But you would think
Clever,
after
but
all of
good
this
way.
time, turkeys would have found another way to roost other than flying up in trees every night. Grouse have figured out, well, I can fly up in a tree, I can hide under a rock, I can hide under a log. And then one of them somewhere along the way was like, you know what, guys, it's cold out tonight. Foot of snow. What should we do? Ricky the ruffed grouse says, I'm going in. Dive bombs head first into the snow. He's like, it's great in here, guys. Figured it out. Evolutionary trait for the ruffed grouse. Wild turkeys have not developed that level of critical thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's all I got to say.
Okay, Brian? He
Yeah.
had a little moment there. What says you?
Like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on the resourcefulness. I mean, once again, they're a 1 pound bird. It's a lot easier to roost under a rock when you're a 1 pound bird. Plenty of turkeys live in plenty of snow-filled regions in the United States. Like, yes, they don't go up to Mexico or don't go up to Canada, but they go to Mexico. They're clear down into the Yucatan. I mean, they're throughout the Sonora Desert. Like, you want to talk about tough birds? They live with the cartel. Like, they still survive. You know why grouse are down there? The cartel.
Cartels.
Like, they're like, we're not, we can't handle it. Like, so don't give me toughness. I've been to Mexico plenty of times. Like, that is a tough place. They live in a desert. Like a desert, for goodness sake. Snow is made of water. There's plenty to drink. Turkeys in Mexico, nah, maybe not all the water you can drink down there. I've been there several times. So, like, yeah, I get it. I mean, you bring up some good points with that, but they go clear down to Mexico. Tough conditions down there as well. And yeah, you know why they have not evolved to not sleeping in trees? Because we haven't cut down all the trees. The Warax, who speaketh for the trees, says, leave some for the turkeys. So there's still plenty. You don't have to evolve. Like, that's like evolving to the color purple. Like, you don't need to at this point, but maybe someday we'll work on that if, we're just full of plum trees or something. But right now, there's no need not to. You can go to a city park. Well, think about that. Turkeys in a city park, like happens all the time. No grouse there. So yeah, I could. That's a good argument, but I think that goes both ways.
Yeah.
Objectively,
So both of
I do
you,
agree.
yeah. Well, both of you right now, the key thing that you guys are mentioning and you're really selling the species, both of you, is on the distribution of the bird and conditions. And we both know that the bird is more than that, both of them. So
Correct.
let's touch on those subjects. Something other than a, hey, they this is their range. So whoever would like to go first, go ahead and discuss something. Let's discuss the how about this? How about we discuss the hunting aspect of it? And then we'll move on to from the conservation thing will be next. So the hunting, Brian, you go first on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think they're both absolutely fun to hunt. Don't get me wrong; they're fabulous birds to hunt. What appeals to me about wild turkey is the interactiveness, like the calling. The To me, it's a chess game. Like they're moving, you're moving. You set up, you got to reset up. You're running around. They're talking, you're talking. Like you have to win a chess game to kill a turkey. You don't stumble upon it and up it goes. So I like that aspect of it. I like the fact you get 2 seasons. 2 seasons. How can you be the king of spring if I can't shoot you in the spring? Like you get a spring turkey season and a fall turkey season. Um, you can hunt turkeys. Like I get it. Like take your dog out, go after grouse. Well, guess what? You can also hunt turkeys with a dog. Like fall wild turkey hunting with dogs down the south is a time honored tradition. R3, recruitment, retention, reactivation. Take a look at the sheer number of hunters that have cut their teeth on wild turkey hunting through mentorship, through their parents or relatives or friends. Like it gets new people into the sport. I think there's a lot of those type of aspects that make it the king of spring. You got 2 seasons. You got the fact that it's an inclusive, very inclusive. It's or not yeah, inclusive, not exclusive. So multiple people can take part of it. You can do it as a partnership, and a lot of people I think have been turned on to conservation, through turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that for the turkey is that I live and breathe to hunt that species, and that nice, cool April morning in the state of Ohio. You're standing there wondering, today. Is today the day that a bird decides that he wants to die?
Mhm.
And you hear that thunderous gobble in the distance. And when like that's the one I want to go after, that's the bird. He answered me. He answered me. I threw something out at him that he liked that he answered me. And then as the bird gets closer and you're working this bird, and then you can feel the the thunderous gobble. And then when they spit and drum, that's when you know you need to take your safety off. Like you're thinking about like when you hear that, it's like it goes through you. You know it's go time. And when that thing comes up, either strutting or what have you, there's nothing like it. Your heart will always beat fast, no matter if it's your first one or your 60th one. It's always the same feeling when it comes to a wild turkey. But with that being said, Cody, what says you?
Oh, I thought you had something after the butt.
No, I was setting it up for you.
Oh, the hunting aspect of it. I mean, again, truly, I mean, it's hard to argue against. And as Brian said, that dialogue, the back and forth. I mean, that's why you do it. I've never hunted turkeys in these places, but I've filmed turkey hunts in Sonora, in the Yucatan, in Florida, in Ohio, in Virginia, California. But still, to me, it goes back to the what's the word? The wilderness aspect of the bird. And when I think about a ruffed grouse, I think all that goes into having to hunt that bird, because as Brian said, I mean, you walk it and you flush it and you shoot it, but that's a very simplified breakdown of the hunt. It's the effort that it takes, especially here in Appalachia anyway, to hunt and to shoot a ruffed grouse. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of miles on your boots. It takes man's best friend. And Brian said, you can use dogs to turkey hunt in the South, and I get that 100%. But the relationship between man and dog goes back to the beginning of man. And that carries over to hunting ruffed grouse, again, from North Georgia to Alaska and everywhere in between. And I think to hunt ruffed grouse, it's more of a, you can make this argument for turkeys, but I think to hunt ruffed grouse, it's more of a lifestyle. And there's some turkey hunters who will rake me across the coals for saying that. But again, it goes back to, you have to train your dog. You got to keep your dog in shape. You got to be in shape to do it. You can't just, again, it speaks to where ruffed grouse live, how mysterious and secretive. And again, part of it is their size. But I live here in town, and I got national forest about 300 yards behind my house, where I hear turkeys gobbling. I could go out, not even with a call. I could go out and make some Cody calls. I could get one to gobble. I could get one to come strutting in, and I could shoot him at 10 steps opening morning. You cannot do that with a ruffed grouse. You got to beat the bush. Your dog's working just as hard as you are. You're walking through high stem density. You're getting smacked in the face with blackberry, with saplings. You're walking miles upon miles just for an opportunity. And yeah, it's a flush, but I mean, you got to shoulder your gun. You got to send pellets through the thick cover. And if and when you do connect, it's just as much the dog's work as it is your work, which goes back to that man and dog, man's best friend relationship. And I just think grouse camp, upland hunting, and the camaraderie for turkey hunting for sure is part of it as well. But I think the camaraderie and the brotherhood or sisterhood that's associated with upland hunting, not just grouse, but following a dog in the woods, talking with your buddies, I think represents what hunting can and should be. Hunting a species
Now,
that you love with a dog.
Yep. So I painted this picture with the wild turkey, and that is something very hard to get out of your blood. I made a toast at one of my good friends' wedding. I was his best man, and we were obsessed with turkey hunting. And I actually made a toast. And granted, I was 22 years old, didn't know any better. I said, "Everybody raise your glass," and everyone did. And I said, "Turkey hunting or women? Turkey hunting or women? There's no question. Where's my call?" That was my toast. That's how obsessed of turkeys I was. But here come along a dog. And I didn't realize what this dog was going to do in my pursuit and love for an upland species called the ruffed grouse. And Cody kind of touched on that. I've always had dogs, beagles. I had a lab, duck hunted with. I had a really strong connection with them. But when it comes to upland hunting, that connection it's more than just a dog. It's a family member. The bond that you have, or the bond that I have with that dog more than any other hunting dog I had, there's nothing better than that setter. And that setter makes me connect with the ruffed grouse because of the time that Cody mentioned, the effort, the training, going out and shooting, making sure that you can hit what you're aiming at. And it is tough. It's tough. It's a lot of walking. It's a lot of miles. And it's all with your best friend, one of your best friends. And there's nothing like it. I can't emphasize that enough. It's just a whole special thing. When that bird or that dog, you're working through, and all of a sudden the dog just turns into a statue. Like you can walk up there and just push him over, and he's looking, and he's like, "Papa, there he is." He's looking at you in the corner of your eye as you make your swing, and he's looking, at you in the corner of his eye. It's like, "Look, we got him, we got him, we got him," and then and you shoot, and you miss. It is just the greatest thing in the world.
And
it is a very tough call.
Yeah, I want you to know something. I agree 100%. with everything Cody said about
Yeah.
the physical nature of the hunt, about
Mm.
the relationship with the dogs. You know, but in fairness, like that same dog man dog relationship exists with rabbit hunters, with waterfowl hunters, with
Yes.
pheasant hunters, right? Like,
Mm.
so this is not
Mm.
really to me an argument to be made for making grouse the king of spring.
Well,
Like that is a whole different element. And the fact that it is all of those things Cody says makes it a lot more, you know, exclusive, in a smaller fraction of society can really successfully engage in it. But
okay. But, and then this is a lead question to Cody. Brian, you make a really great point. But there's never a time when I've been turkey hunting with you or others that I was engrossed in the habitat, the ecology, all that of a rough grouse.
that's your
Wow.
fault.
Yeah, that's right. You see where I'm going. Cody, pick up the baton and run with it.
Right. Thanks, Mr. Personal Preference.
Yeah. I just saying. Go ahead, Cody.
Well, this is something. This is so you want to segue
Lead.
out of the hunting aspect.
Yeah, segue out of the hunting. Yeah, it's just with the hunting aspect of it, it's tomato. But I think the biggest thing is what, like I said there at the end.
I think about that because again, everything comes down to personal preference.
Yes.
It's hard to beat a turkey gobbling in the spring and the chest mash that goes along with it, and the science and art, truly. And then to shoot a grouse during the fall or winter, it's more persistence and effort. With turkey hunting, it is an art. With grouse, it's like you got to beat the bush to get it done. So again, it's all in how you like to hunt, all in how you like to pursue. But one thing I think about, and I've learned this a lot, especially not hunting grouse with a camera, you know what I mean, and trying to get
Mm-hmm.
close to them. I think and this isn't to say that you can't do this being a turkey hunter, but we talk about it with trapping, Eric. We've talked about it with trapping and spraying invasive species. When you look for something so small, you become a better woodsman as a result. Your woodsmanship skills improve. And I've noticed that when I chase these grouse around trying to film them during the spring, because we've talked about it, it's the ultimate treasure hunt, trying to find a rough grouse during the spring. If they don't drum, you don't know they're there. And the off chance that you see them crossing the road or you flush them, but that's just where they were for 2 seconds that day. To try to get and observe and to spend time with a rough grouse like you would a turkey or any other wildlife species, it takes some work. And first you got to have them, then you got to hear them, and then you got to get close enough to hone in on that location to find a drumming log or the drumming rock. And the birds that I've been chasing around this spring, their drumming sites have not been apparent. I've had to look. I hone in on the location and I got a general idea of where they are, but it hasn't been this beacon like it sometimes is with this giant log where it's just a single log in the forest with a root ball on one side, an overhead cover on the top, and then blackberry on the right, where it's like it couldn't be anything but that. What I've had to find is I get to the site and then you look around and you're not really knowing that you're doing this while you're doing it. It's just instinct. You're evaluating the site, you're looking around, you're examining, you're looking for clues, you're looking for details, you're looking for sign, which could be a little teeny tiny feather, which could be one of the birds I found, the only sign was 4 droppings in a pile about that big. And I was just lucky to have found them. But as a result of all that, I'm looking for little details in a giant forest. And when you're looking for little details in a giant forest, especially about how a 1-pound bird might utilize that environment and that habitat, you become a better woodsman because through process of elimination, again, this is all subconscious. You're evaluating, well, this site looks good, but does it have cover? He wants to drum out into the open adjacent to thick cover. Like he's not going to drum into thick cover because it's not going to carry sound. He wants to drum out into the open. So you're evaluating all these decisions that a ruffed grouse might make. And throughout the whole process, you learn about your woods through, we talk about it through those grouse goggles, which I think makes you a better woodsman. I've noticed that about myself this spring. When you look for something so small and detailed, you would have to try not to become a better woodsman, because you notice little plants, you notice little different nuances in the forest and tree species and forest composition and how the forest is structured. So all that to say, I think when you pursue ruffed grouse, not so much the hunting of it, but just learning about the species, its habitat, its biology, and its ecology, I think you have to look for teeny tiny details. And anytime you do that, you just become more immersed in that habitat, in that environment. Meanwhile, a turkey, they gobble on the roost, and you see them strutting around.
Well, hang on. Let's
They
give Brian.
gather in flocks, so they're easy to see.
Let's give Brian a rebuttal to what you just said, Brian.
Yeah, like once again, Cody, I can't argue with any of that portion of what you said. I don't know that really helps to the argument of making it the king of spring, but they're all, really good, true comments you just made. I will say, for guys that are real turkey hunters, I mean, consistently kill turkeys, like, woodsmanship kills far more turkeys than calling skills. Like if you know the lay of the land, if you know the habitat, if you know things like that, like, you're not going to just set up and kill a turkey and call them in. You can make them gobble. Anybody can make them gobble. A Canada goose, a Cardor, Eric, can make a turkey gobble. So like, yeah, I understand that, like, your initial locating of a turkey, like, not that hard, but to consistently kill those little buggers, like, it takes more knowledge than just wandering around making noise. So I would say that woodsmanship is definitely a high skill level for both parties. Definitely, but the woodsmanship you're talking about is the study, the ecology, the work. In the spring woods, it's spring turkey hunting. Like, you are actively pursuing the king of spring at that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's kind of pivot here a little bit. Let's talk about the conservation side of. Let's talk about how I think this will solve or help direct what we're jokingly debating the king of spring is the conservation side of these two birds. And Brian, I want to give you the floor first. Like, the conservation aspect of it, and you can take this as any direction that you want, whether it's the NWTF side of it, or just the story of the turkey from being nothing to what it is today, and also talk about the decline. Even I don't want this to go on too long, but I'm going to give you the floor. So anything you want to discuss reference to the conservation side of why. Yeah, the hunting aspect of it and all this other stuff, blah blah blah. That's all tomato.
Yeah. No,
but
it's
the
not.
conservation side of it, what says you?
So I'll just start off by saying conservation for both species is extremely important. I think probably conservation for ruffed grouse, it might be more important, because I think their numbers are in worse shape. Wild turkeys were extirpated. They were brought back through efforts of NWTF and state agencies. And, a lot of that, it takes money to do those things. And wild turkeys, and people that hunt wild turkeys have definitely put their money where their mouth is. Texas alone, in 2024, they contribute $80 million in economic input from hunters. Over 250,000 hunters hunted turkeys in Michigan in Texas during that time. That's one of 50 states. you start taking those numbers out and putting them nationwide, like the impact of conservation dollars that wild turkeys put in the system for conservation of not just wild turkeys but other species is unbelievable. So that's something that maybe, I know Ruffed Grouse Society, you guys got the Give for Grouse thing going. Like, I am absolutely all for all that. I think it needs to happen. But that's what it has not really happened with the Ruffed Grouse. Like, they have not had that same sort of plug of money. They have not had that same sort of involvement with exponential numbers. Now, I mean, I understand it's a little bit skewed because in to hunt a wild turkey in almost every state, you have to buy an additional tag. Like, so the ability for the wild turkey to raise extra money for its conservation efforts, there's an avenue for that. I know some states do have like upland stamps and things like that. I'm not saying it's everybody, but I think if you were to look across the board, like, you're going to find a lot more economic impact being created by the wild turkey more research, wild turkey, tags and license sales. So they have that avenue, and I do think that's what, why you guys are doing such a good thing, is because grouse really, they don't have that exact same kind of avenue. So I think from that standpoint, the ability to generate, some of their own recovery definitely leads to, wild turkeys having the edge there. Both species, I think, are experience a decline. Ruffed grouse probably more so. Wild turkeys, could actually benefit from some ruffed grouse management. A lot of what you guys would do and propose to manage for ruffed grouse is also going to be, your brooding and nesting habitat for hens. So, I think, wild turkeys obviously throughout the farmlands and woodlots, and have the ability to make use of much more varied habitats to be successful. So I think that's definitely what you guys are doing is going to benefit everybody, all wildlife species.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Yeah, everything that you said, you can't definitely argue any of that. That's for sure. But Cody, again, the conservation side of the ruffed grouse, and I think the story of the ruffed grouse is definitely not the story of the wild turkey. But there are avenues that you can explain, hopefully, that can challenge some of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't really challenge it, honestly, because the economic impact is significant that the wild turkey brings to the table, the social
Mm-hmm.
impact. And again, that's just a reflection of both species and how visible both species are, both species biology and the huntability of both species. I mean, turkeys bring in exponentially more money. I mean, it's even here in Appalachia where there are grouse, a lot of people, it's shocking how few people know what a ruffed grouse is. And that's not a knock on the grouse. That's just a reflection of the species and the habitat in which they live. But the conservation and management, we talk about this a lot, Eric, is we're advocating for ruffed grouse and ruffed grouse habitat. But ruffed grouse, the species, is the vehicle that we can drive to educate the public on the importance of healthy forests and forest management. And turkeys can be that as well. But I think when you speak to grouse in Appalachia and you can draw the parallels between their population, the health of the species, and the health of our forests, when one goes down, they both go down. When there's healthy forests, there's healthy populations of ruffed grouse. So we tell people that ruffed grouse are just driving that truck, and that's exactly the analogy that we use to educate on forest management and to support logging and the forest product market and forest management industries. Because here in Appalachia, we made that video, Eric, the billboard promo film, and I was thinking about this either this morning or recently, that truly the story of Appalachia is the story of the ruffed grouse, or the story of the ruffed grouse is a story of Appalachia. When wood is moving through Appalachia, then ruffed grouse are going to be in a good spot. When ruffed grouse are not in a good spot, it's because wood is not moving. It's because forest management is lacking. It's because we're not harvesting timber in a way that we should be. All that to say, we've talked about it a lot. Just because you're cutting timber for ruffed grouse, that may not mean you will have ruffed grouse. But that, as you say it all the time, Eric, that doesn't mean that you failed. If you've got a piece of private property or national forest and you cut timber or you do a burn and ruffed grouse is your goal, if they don't respond for any number of different reasons, if they're not in the neighborhood, that doesn't make the project a failure. The habitat that was created, that young forest that's lacking significantly across the landscape, is going to benefit 60, at least, maybe 70% of wildlife species endemic to this region. Most rely on early successional to young forest. And that is a result of managing habitat for ruffed grouse. So, and then kind of ties back into the woodsmanship side, or becoming a naturalist, I guess. When you walk through the woods with those grouse goggles, and you're examining a piece of property or a chunk of timber or a piece of habitat through grouse goggles, how can this piece of habitat have utility or value to ruffed grouse? You become just a better conservationist, a better land manager, because you're looking at that habitat with a specialist species. And Brian, whitetails are a generalist species. What are turkeys? I mean, I don't think they're as generalist as whitetails, but not quite as specialist as grouse or quail. I think in the middle.
Not at all. Not at all. Like but back in the day, like when we first brought wild turkeys into Ohio, like they were very, very selectively placed in the biggest, timber that could be found, because they were big timber birds. That was a story. Like, they'll never be statewide. They'll never expand out of the range. Like, they need these big, old growth oak hickory dominated forests. And the wild turkey flat out said, hold my energy drink here. And they just said, no, we can do it all. Like they have expanded throughout Ohio because of their ability to be more of a generalist. Like, they do need some big forests. Like, they do best when there is some big open forests around, but they do best when they have some of everything. Open fields. Once again, either grassy, grass fields, like a switchgrass or something like that, but also in these old growth fields, these briar thickets. Like, I'm telling you right now, you could find a hen sitting on a nest of eggs right next to a drumming log, because same deal. Like it's predators, it's avian predators, it's and they do roost in trees, but not when they're sitting on eggs. Like, that hen might sit 30, 45 days, like, and never go up in a tree. Like, they're sitting on the ground, 24/7, other than taking a short break to maybe feed or something like that. So they're definitely using a lot bigger variety of habitats than us as wildlife managers thought when we first brought them in. But definitely can utilize some of the same types of habitat. The way I look at it, like, a monoculture of anything is bad for most species of wildlife. Having this mix, this mixture of habitat types is generally where the bulk of wildlife species, are most successful. And the wild turkey is definitely in that realm, like a nice mix. Like, I live in predominantly farm country, like big woods, wetlands, small woods, got a nice mix. Unfortunately, don't have as many grouse as we used to. I was just talking to a buddy the other day, and I don't know, probably 10 years ago, we stood on a marker in the middle of the woods where 3 different counties come together. Right in the middle of the woods, there's a marker, and it's got the names of the 3 counties. And we were turkey hunting, and we could hear 6 birds drumming from that spot. I don't know if I go back today that we hear that. And I'm not sure, like, definitely the habitats change some as well. But, I worry about things like West Nile and some of those other things that may have come through that, habitat's not going to fix that. So, not saying we still shouldn't manage the habitat for all the reasons you said. Like, there's other benefits to that. But just to kind of add to your point of like, hey, just because you build it, they may not come, only because they may be into a situation where they're not able to come. Like there's not enough of them around or close to you. So that doesn't mean to give up, because there are, like you said, other species that will benefit from your wildlife management activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Cody, since you took a little bit of your time by ranting on, would you like to
Just preaching the gospel. That's
just
it.
comment a little
I'm
more? I
going.
mean, it takes some of your time away from you.
No,
Yeah, but I wasn't going against him.
well, I
Keep it
defer
up,
in his
Banbury.
defense. I did defer to him.
Oh, okay.
But and
Missed
again,
it.
this is a grouse can't help it, but being a specialist species, they are, as a species, a little bit more fragile, a little bit more sensitive to different drivers, like a lack of habitat, more fragmented habitat. They don't translocate well. Diseases, West Nile, like you said, I'm sure AI has an impact. But to go back to what I was saying, I think you just become a better conservationist, a better land manager. The grouse are never going to have the social or economic impact on conservation and management than turkeys or deer. Nor should they, honestly. We shouldn't put that weight on a bird that is so selective. But when you're managing for grouse, and I say this a lot too, if you're in the Southeast managing for quail, you just become a better naturalist, a better conservationist, a better steward of land and wildlife when you manage for a specialist species like ruffed grouse. Because when you're looking through the woods or a young forest or early successional and you're seeing, does this have utility for grouse? Kind of goes back to what I was saying, that woodsmanship aspect of things. You're looking for certain food sources, you're looking for certain cover types, you're looking for nesting habitat versus brooding habitat. And you can certainly do that with turkeys as well. But I know the last several years when I've gone down this rabbit hole with ruffed grouse, I've been able to identify and learn more plant species, more shrub species, learning how a forest ecosystem functions from top to bottom. And you can certainly do that if you're passionate about turkeys as well, but being more sensitive to other drivers of negative impacts like grouse, it makes you really be more intentional with the decisions you're making. I always say with invasive species, you could find a turkey on a nest and a sea of stilt grass, and she could be just fine. A sea of stilt grass is a death sentence to certainly a grouse chick, but even an adult grouse. So when you're managing property, looking for little details and saying, can a grouse find utility here? Then I think you just become a more well-rounded conservationist and land manager.
Yeah. So the bottom line here, I think I think no one will ever know who the true king of spring is. Okay. And I want to have like a little shoot around type thing here after this comment. But the thing about the ruffed grouse versus the wild turkey is that both of you brought up the economic aspect of it. And I would have to push back a little bit, Cody, because it does, I think, have the same, if not more, of economic, because wild turkey brings in dollars for conservation, right, Brian? I mean, without a doubt. Look at ruffed grouse doesn't have 80 something thousand people showing up at a conservation bank, in Nashville, Tennessee, and they're running out of. They need a bigger.
Right.
Ruffed grouse doesn't do that, right? Look at the
And
money.
just the travel, just
Yes.
the people
Yeah.
traveling to hunt them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And what I'm about to say, it's not like the wild turkey doesn't do any of this, but as a whole, okay, let me repeat that again. The wild turkey does do this, but as a whole, the ruffed grouse wins this argument in the sense of, as Cody mentioned, reference the woods and stuff like that. The revenue, when you have a healthy forest, you have a healthy grouse. How do we get a healthy forest? We have foresters. We have loggers, log truck drivers, paper mill workers, furniture makers. Okay. So look at the economic value when it comes to that aspect of it. The ruffed grouse puts food and money in people's pockets and the mouths, where the wild turkey kind of does not. Look what the ruffed grouse creates versus the wild turkey in that aspect of it, because it isn't economic. It's apples to oranges aspect of it. The reference conservation. So there is money being brought in on a large scale, if not more, than the wild turkey. But going directly toward conservation, no, the wild turkey definitely wins that argument when it comes to the conservation boom of it. But when it comes to the economic and the producing of habitat, the ruffed grouse wins that argument. Understand?
I understand, but that is a secondary effect, is managing for ruffed grouse.
Well, you could say the wild turkey does the same thing. That's a secondary effect.
I don't think you can.
Okay, so where's this money going? Where's this money going from the NWTF? Where's that money going?
Well, so the logging situation, like they're not logging and making furniture because of the ruffed grouse.
No, I understand that.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those activities, but that is not directly tied to the species. The species benefiting from that is a secondary unintended effect. I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but nobody starts a paper mill because they're trying to manage grouse.
No, that's not not what I'm saying. You're misinterpreting what I'm trying to say.
Nope.
I understand what Eric's saying. I understand what Eric's saying. I understand the counter that Brian is saying, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying I don't think you can contribute that to the species.
You can't,
as the argument. But yes, I mean, obviously, all of those activities do generate, economic impact that is positive. I'm just not certain that it's a conservation argument.
Rules on engagement is that neither one of you are allowed to attack the moderator. So
I got a point for you, Eric. It goes back to what we talk about, what I said earlier. I mean, Brian's 100% correct. Nobody's building a creating a paper mill for ruffed grouse. But like we always say, ruffed grouse driving the truck of forest management.
Yes.
If we use that species as a poster child, you could build entire communities as a result of the industry that's
what I'm saying.
Ruffed grouse habitat.
Community.
Yes,
you didn't say that. Cody said it.
That's what. So I think the difference between the two species is I don't think you'll ever get a really great answer to it, because there was a part of my life where the turkeys was, wild turkey was everything, and you couldn't have told me anything different. But now where I'm at in my life, the romance of the ruffed grouse, the Aldo Leopold that gets inside of you when you're walking around a chunk of ground, whether you're hunting or just trying to film for grouse, or just looking at forest ecology as a whole. Just something, that whole feeling, it's just again, it has nothing to do with this bird. It's just this bird brings you to nature, where wild turkey really doesn't, at least at this part of my life. It's just the whole romance of it, the connection that the ruffed grouse brings to you versus the wild turkey. The wild turkey gives you that instant gratification when it does all work out. And it is a little bit of fun when you don't succeed, when that cat and mouse game of the wild turkey doesn't work out. It's like, damn, you're frustrated. Yeah, you're mad, but it's like, all right, another day. And it's fun. It's great. Where, hunting aspect of a ruffed grouse, the worst thing that you could do is kill it, because then it's just like, that wasn't part of it.
And I know what you're saying, and I don't disagree, but
yeah,
you can't take the wild turkey for granted, and I think we are a little bit in that statement. I mean, 6 to 7 million turkeys are harvested annually.
Yes.
Take the wild turkey, take the gobble off the landscape, and see what kind of emotion then that would invoke. And that's kind of where we're at. I think ruffed grouse numbers are in worse shape than wild turkey numbers nationwide.
you mentioned let's just do like a little shoot around thing where everybody can just gang
Okay.
up on one another. Okay, here. So
Okay.
you mentioned take the gobble out. Well, one could say, Brian, if I put you in that blind in front of that, not you, because you'll sit there and debate it and try to prove me wrong, but
Of course
some
I will.
ex person,
And probably win.
yeah, yeah, no, just put somebody that is a diehard turkey hunter that gets all jazzed up, and you sit in that blind in front of that log, and that grouse comes up there and just does his territorial and breeding display, and you feel it, you see it, everything. It rivals it. If I can get everybody to do that, and we always joke around. If that bird had a beard and some spurs, my gosh, what we could do with conservation on cutting some trees down.
Well,
But
yeah, and
the
you
display,
just helped
all
my
that.
argument by saying beers and spurs. Turkeys have those.
Oh my god, that's nuts.
I think a
Go
lot
find
of
that on a
it.
grouse. No
All right,
bearded grouse.
no more playing nice, Cody.
But here's the other thing: you can't shoot the Drummond grouse off the log. Like, yes, absolutely powerful, absolutely evoking emotion. But when you hear the spit and drum of that turkey, it's because you're about ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah, but
Like,
I think that the biggest thing is that it is apples and oranges. What if it like the turkey has no romance to it other than hunting season? No one cares. It's like you get on social media and it goes from shed hunting to now it's turkey hunting. Here pretty soon, next couple weeks, it's food plots. Turkeys are done, forgotten until next spring.
you know why?
Rough grouse?
Spring is over, and they are the king of spring. And once
No.
spring is over,
Oh
it's
my
time to
God.
move on.
Where the rough grouse in that community, it's talked about constantly. It's talking about brooding habit. You see on rough grouse social media pages and stuff. It's just the conversation is more of why this bird is a lot more powerful and a lot more meaningful than the wild turkey.
How many wild turkey Facebook groups are you a part of anymore, Eric Long?
I,
There you go. Can't be there. You can't see it if you're not there.
For me,
Cody,
it
just
comes
don't-
back to it's obviously all very personal, as we all know. But to me, it comes back to if you pay attention to our arguments, it's all in what the species represents. Because a lot of what I'm talking about for grouse is their nature, is their biology, is their toughness. One thing I talk about with a hen on a nest, both species, a turkey being big enough, she can defend the nest from a coon, possum, any nest predator. And poor grouse, well, she can't. That obviously is inhibiting to grouse productivity. But how I look at it is because so many cards are stacked against grouse, that's why I appreciate them so much more than I do a turkey. And that's not a knock to the turkey. But Eric mentioned it too, the romance of a grouse, to me, kind of speaks to their secretive nature. And Brian, you mentioned if you take a gobble off the landscape in the spring, it's certainly noticeable. One way I would look at it is like here in the property where I've been filming grouse. There's plenty of both, thankfully. Objectively, if you're to sit on a spot at sunrise and you hear the whippoorwills and you hear the birds singing in the trees and you watch the sun come up over the mountain, what's more special? Objectively, what's more special to hear? A turkey gobbling or a grouse drumming? To me, obviously, it's a grouse. But if you try to look at it as objectively as possible, what's more special? What is a more rare occurrence? To hear
What might be the whippoorwill?
For you guys up there, I take
yeah,
them
but
for
you got to
granted.
have good management for the whippoorwill. What gets good management? Rough grouse.
I take those for granted down here, but I think about what's more special, hearing a turkey gobble or hearing a grouse drum. And to me, obviously, it's the drum. But if you were to look at it objectively, and your point, Brian, a car door can get a turkey to gobble. Poor little Eric can get a turkey to gobble. A grouse has got to do it on his own. It makes it that much more special.
I don't disagree. Like, if the argument we're trying to make here is a grouse is a rarer, there's not as many of them, like they're in smaller, like I'm with you. But how do you then say that's the king of spring? Like I was
Yeah, but
told to
There,
argue the king of
no.
spring.
so special.
No, that's the thing. When I hear a turkey gobble, I hear a turkey gobble. You know, it's like I could hear them in with a 10-acre woods versus, you know, with funnels and stuff like that. Where if I hear a bird drum as a conservationist, I can sit there and go, you know what? That forest is in incredible shape. I could go in there and see X species all the way up the ladder because of young forest. You know, you got to have a young forest. You got to have a healthy forest. You got to have all the right things. When you hear that bird drum, or you got a dog on point over, you know, woodcock or grouse, you know you're an excellent habitat. You're standing or you're near the most perfect thing that offers so much for wildlife. Where I can drive down the road and with a little 10-acre woodlot and hear a bird gobble. That is why they're the king of spring, because when you hear one, everything is the way it's supposed to be.
Ruffed grouse are an indicator species of a healthy forest.
See this mic, Banbury? See this mic? I'm going to drop
wild
it.
turkey cannot
Boom.
make that claim.
You're gonna have to mute.
I just dropped my
I'm
mic.
about ready to make you look bad.
Oh my God. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen, if grouse were so wonderful, we would have domesticated them. Like, you know what we don't eat at Thanksgiving? Grouse. Do you know what we did to the king of spring early on? Like I said, let's round a few of these things up, feed them some food. We're going to make them into, like, the pounds of meat you get out of a wild turkey versus a grouse. They're a farmer's friend. They eat far more bugs. They're important to taxidermists. They mount more. Get this. I'm going to mic drop you now, Mr. Long. Sitka does not make specific clothing for grouse hunting. They just came out with a turkey line 2 years ago.
Yeah, but Kuyu did because they know the value of wetlands, because value of upland hunting. Kuyu did. Sitka's just in the
Wait a minute.
past.
Upland hunting is pheasants. It's quail. You're talking about a lot of field habitat. That's not grouse
Oh, you just don't
specific.
like grouse vest. It's an upland vest.
Right.
What I think is funny is
Because
you
you
guys
use
are
the wrong
talking.
camos, not
It's
my
not-
problem.
You know what? You know what upland habitat isn't? Isn't a young forest.
I've always wondered, why is grouse included in upland? I never understood that.
Because they're not the king. You got to put them in with another
Come on.
category.
What I think is funny is Brian's
king
talking
gets
about
its own
Sitka
category.
gear. Brian's talking about Sitka gear. Eric's talking about Kuyu. What I will say is Aldo Leopold, the father of modern day wildlife conservation and wildlife management, in his gospel of a book, a Sand County Almanac. I was thinking about this in the grouse blind this morning. Obviously didn't have time to read it and fact check this. So I will preface this by saying I did have to chat GPT it. In the Sand County Almanac, rough grouse are mentioned 8 to 10 times according to ChatGPT. The wild turkey, I think it was listed as maybe 1 to 2. If Aldo Leopold refers to the ruffed grouse more in the Bible of wildlife managers and conservationists in our day and time, and the wild turkey is an afterthought, I think that is.
Well, I've heard Brian publicly. No, publicly, just kind of like, who's Aldo Leopold? Like, why are people making a big deal of him? You know what I mean? He's just another guy who just happened to make it big. You know, because he knew the right people. I've heard Banbury say that.
You just read a quote I stuck on a wall the other day, mister. You know better than that. Let me tell you why Aldo Leopold talked so much about grouse and did not about turkeys. Because this is a serious one. During Aldo's time, young forest habitat, there was more of it. There were more grouse on the landscape during those days than there were wild turkeys. The wild turkeys by that time had been extirpated from a good portion of where Aldo Leopold would have been active. Mm-hmm. So I mean I get that. Like you're going to gear towards, you know, what you have and what you love and what you're exposed to. I mean, Aldo Leopold didn't mention rhinoceroses very much either, but he was shy of those as well.
One thing we haven't discussed is just, I think, and this is a huge point for me anyway. Obviously, it's all in what the species represents, is the beauty, the attractiveness. Turkeys are ugly. Look at that thing. I mean, and a strutted out turkey, I get it. The red, white, and blue, all strutted up, the iridescent colors.
America.
Yeah, true.
Just
true.
like hockey.
They're
Like
not an ugly
hockey
bird.
and not hockey and not Molson beer. So,
But the beauty, the attractiveness of a ruffed grouse, the colors, especially down here, our chestnut copper colored birds, the white, the chestnut, the black, especially, and they strut just like a turkey does when they go when they strut and fan out, and the ruffed feathers,
like a baby turkey.
They are just gorgeous. They may be a fraction of the size, but they got twice the heart.
They do. I mean, I'll give you that.
They are
None
always
of them look
ready
like
to scrap. That's the
none
thing.
of them look
Wild
like a
turkeys,
peacock.
You blink at 100 yards, and a turkey's like, "Ooh, I'm scared. I got to fly away." A ruffed grouse, he's always ready for a scrap. He's looking for a fight.
Turkeys are bringing their own knives to the gunfight. Like they got spurs on them. There are no spurs on a grouse.
They don't need them.
Like
They're velociraptor.
How can you be the king if you're going to get dog stomped by a possum? You know what I mean?
The king is wise enough to delegate the fighting to the lesser representatives of the woodland wildlife species. That's why he's the king.
Now you talked about how tough these birds are, and now you also told me about how the hens can't even protect the nest. In describing the grouse in this conversation, here's the 3 words you used to describe a grouse: fragile, sensitive, and chicken. That's not the king of spring.
I told you, Altizer.
You used those
I told
3.
you, Altizer, that you need to.
And I just said.
I also use brave and proud and emblematic of what it means to be an American. For the turkey, I said scared and ugly.
Red, white, and blue.
And
America.
and easy.
They're in Canada. Turkeys are not in Canada.
They're not tough enough.
They're
That's
not
why I said
fighting
they're
the
not
cartel.
tough enough.
They're just not
They're in the
tough enough.
cartel. They're in the Yucatan. They live in the jungle. If grouse were such woodland species birds, like we'd have them down in the Yucatan with the peacock turkey. We'd have like peacock grouse down there.
Yeah. All right. So with this, let's wrap this up. Brian, go ahead and give your final thoughts to this debate.
Yeah, like there's no losers here. Like everybody wins. It's all about conservation. Both species are extremely important to the landscape. Both of them are absolutely iconic American species. I just, for the reasons of economics, the reasons for, I think, more people historically hunt them, the R3 aspect and getting new people involved, the funds that they raise and their ability to, more people can enjoy them, more people can hunt them, more people can pursue them. So with that,
Wait,
pretty weak there.
that's pretty weak, just like the turkey. But
I
anyway,
hear
That's my grouse
subsonic
call.
drum from a mile away.
all right, Cody.
So
what say you?
I just think hands down that's the king of spring. You get 2 falls, you get 2 seasons. You can't be the king of spring if you don't have a hunting season in the spring. Come on.
Oh my God. Anyway, go ahead, Cody.
I hear it. I hear everything's Brian's saying, and as I've said throughout it, it's all personal. And to me, it goes, and I can't argue anything about the impact as we've discussed, but to me, it's what the ruffed grouse represents, the romance of it, the size, its bravery, what it stands for, its pride relative to its size. I've bumped birds off of a log, and it, for people watching, not listening, if he's drumming here and I'm here, we literally switch spots, and when he goes to the second spot, he hops on that thing and drums just as proudly on the second as he did the first. It's what it represents. It represents, to me, we've talked about it before, the essence of stewardship forest management is because managing for grouse, you kind of got to do it with a hope and a prayer, and it takes patience, and it takes a big picture view, which is what wildlife and forest management is all about. Hearing that drum on a spring morning represents a healthy forest. It represents a bird that is doing what it's designed to do, not knowing the situation the species is in. It only knows one thing, and that is to keep pressing forward, and that is to keep fighting for a brighter future ahead, no matter the odds. He doesn't know that the future is not bright for his species. He just knows he's supposed to hop on that log. He knows he's supposed to drum and do his thing proudly and bravely for his species' future.
Mm-hmm. And if you care, my 2 cents is if if the thunder and a gobble is your thing, that's great. And there's more to the wild turkey than just that alone. The history of it, it's incredible. The pursuit of it is great. But when it comes to the ruffed grouse, it's if you want to live in a world where if things are what you hope to be, in the healthy forest, etc., you're pulling for the ruffed grouse because they are an indicator, and we should be striving for our forest to be healthy. And many species will follow with that. So not knock on hunting. It's an ecology. It's a conservation story more for me than that. And there's nothing that I love doing with Mr. Brian Banbury is to sit there and try to go after these things, these turkeys. We have a ball. We are not successful, and it's not because of our calling ability or woodsmanship. Is that he has really piss poor looking decoys versus mine, and he won't let me take mine out.
The foam flambos you got from 1983.
I'll bust that out. I still got it.
I think those actually belong to Aldo Leopold. I think those were his original decoys.
All right. With that being said, is there anything that, like, the direction might have not been what you wanted? Is there any comments out there you wish you would have said? Now is the time. This could have gone many different ways. I'm sure people listening are going, you should have said this. You should have said that. Of course, we're just having fun. We didn't do any homework here. We're just pulling it out of thin air and having a good time with it. But to each its own. So is it Brian, Cody? Is there anything you would like to add? Anything left on the table? Because I don't want to get off this and go, that's not how I wanted it to be.
No, I mean, not for me. I don't disagree with anything really that's been said. As far as the iconicness of being the iconic woodland stewardship animal and kind of the poster child, for forest health and Appalachia and all of that. Totally agree that is the ruffed grouse. I'll still hold to my argument and belief that, from the sheer standpoint of King of Spring, I think if we put this to a nationwide vote, I would have no problem winning this one. As Cody said, unfortunately, a lot of people in Appalachia don't even know what a ruffed grouse is anymore, and that's sad. That's not something that's not something to celebrate. But just for those kind of issues alone, they know what a wild turkey is, so, I think that, from a nationwide standpoint, the wild turkey would be recognized as the king of spring, but certainly we could then call the ruffed grouse the king of conservation. So now everybody wins.
Yeah, well, just like,
I know what a turkey
you
is
wanted
because you can buy it at the grocery store.
Yeah, if you want to go to
but they're not fragile, sensitive, or chicken-like.
I got something.
If you were to put it to a vote, it'd be like 2020 election. It'd be stolen. So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Would not be. Wouldn't have
I got
to.
something I want us to do before we wrap it up, because any part of a healthy debate, I feel like, is to understand the other person's side. Yeah. So my stance was obviously that the ruffed grouse is the king of spring. Brian's was that the wild turkey. And I can go first if you want me to, Brian. But Brian, I want Brian to make a case for the ruffed grouse Just as
Yes.
our opening
Good idea.
statement was to make a case for the turkey, I want Brian's closing statement to be that the ruffed grouse is the king of spring, and I'll obviously do the same for the turkey.
Well, I honestly, Cody, I think I just did that. In
Yeah.
saying, my argument would be that very thing. Like it's the iconic young forest health species. Um, it definitely is in smaller, more important, more vital type habitats. So I think the argument literally it is that it should be the king of conservation simply because it can lead that charge. I would not put the wild turkey as king of conservation simply because it is far more versatile. Like it can operate, survive, thrive in much more varying habitats. It kind of wins that battle definitely because at one time you had grouse were thought to be this young forest type animal. Wild turkeys, big forests, that was it. Like they were put in the biggest forest, and they have proved a lot of people wrong by being able to expand out and live in this farmland country and roost in these smaller areas. And so I think I already basically made that point. Like I don't think that the grouse is the king of spring. I do think it's the wild turkey, but like king of conservation, king of being the poster child for that type of habitat and that line of work. Like no argument for me whatsoever.
I like that. King of
What says
conservation.
you, Cody? Go ahead.
King of conservation, that carries more weight than king of spring, and I think is
I,
a
I,
more
I mean, it
important
does.
more
Right.
important
It's
Well,
not a
point.
lesser.
that's the
It's
thing.
not a lesser title. It's
Yeah.
just
No,
yeah.
that's the thing. The rough grouse has gone through a lot since all those comments, right? We can all say that. The ups and
Sure.
downs of it, same thing as turkeys. And one thing that a lot of people don't like is, especially those that grew up with rough grouse, is change. Don't like it. They want it to be the way it was. And I really do. It's like, is the king of spring, as much as we would like to debate it, I think, Brian, I have to admit, I like the king of conservation. I like the ring of it. I think it does have a better representation than
Hmm.
just saying it's a king of spring, because it is phenomenal in the spring, and I think what it represents, it is a king, but king of conservation, which is more of a title. I mean, right, Cody? I mean, is that something where, okay, is it the king? Maybe, maybe not. But is it the king of conservation? I like that ring to it. Is that more fitting? But go ahead and debate and speak up for the wild turkey. Go ahead and do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, my devil's advocate argument is to echo a lot of what Brian said and to kind of pick apart a lot of what I said. A lot of why I was advocating for the ruffed grouse is what it represents, is its management, is the species biology, and it's a lot of what it does during the fall, a lot of what it does during the summer. How it is a year-round type of deal with your bird dog. Managing timber you're doing in the spring and cutting timber during the spring, cutting timber in the winter, burning in the spring, looking for chicks during the summer, listening for those, waiting for them to disperse during the fall, hearing those first drums during the fall. So for me, it's a year-round obsession with ruffed grouse. For turkeys to be the king of spring, they are not isolated to just spring, but they when you think of the wild turkey, you think of it more during the spring than any other time of year. Grouse hunting is in the fall and the winter. Grouse drumming is in the spring. So for the wild turkey to be the king of spring, again, it's that dialogue, it's that interaction, that back and forth. Maybe hearing them fly up or hearing them gobble on the roost the night before, and then again that spring morning when you hear the birds and you feel the dew and that cold, damp air, but the warm sun and that dialogue and that chess match, that art back and forth, chasing them around. I think that spring morning may be better represented by the chase of a wild turkey than the drum of a ruffed grouse. But what the ruffed grouse represents to me is a bigger picture view of forest management and conservation,
Yeah.
which is why I like what Brian said, for it to be the king of conservation.
I like
Give the
that.
lesser title the lesser title will go to the wild turkey as the king of spring. Just one
Well,
season.
right.
I mean,
Ruffed grouse gets the whole year.
Hey, good
We'll give
job,
the turkey the spring.
Good job.
Listen.
Hey, you get one season. Good job.
here's
job.
what you
Way to
guys
go,
got to
turkey.
keep in mind though about that king of conservation comment. Like my job was to come on here and win the king of spring title for the wild turkey. I just did that.
No, you didn't. It was a
It's
tie.
like-
You know it was a tie.
I don't know if I
Stop
just
it.
came up with king of conservation. I just pulled that out my hat going,
Well,
I got one like Mortal Kombat body blow here I got to throw in here.
Here's
to
a
try to
question
fling
for
this
Brian.
thing.
Are you Ohio State fan too?
OH.
Okay, good.
Io.
So, as Ohio State fans, would you rather win the national championship, which would be the equivalent of being the king of conservation, or would you rather win the Big Ten or beat Michigan, which is the king of spring?
Ooh.
Beating Michigan in the Big Ten is the king of spring, but you lose the national championship, or would you rather be
No,
the
that-
best team in the country winning the national championship, which is the equivalent of the king of conservation? Which would you rather be?
Yeah, but we showed up to the national championship game and you changed the rules in the middle of it. The national championship title here was the fight for king of spring. So I had to throw you guys off that trail somehow. So I just came up with that king of conservation nonsense.
That is true.
That is true. But to answer your question, that's a tough. I can't answer that.
I mean, it's a tough one because we've done it. We've done both.
Yeah, but we've done both in the opposite of it. We did
Right,
not win
okay.
the Big Ten championship. We did
Sure.
not beat
Right.
Michigan, but we did win. But it was an empty feeling. It was empty.
It's always tainted.
It was-
like
it was tainted.
let's be honest here. Winners win. So like anytime there's an L at any level, especially the higher levels, like it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. It doesn't win.
Yeah.
You know, I hate losing more than I enjoy winning. So you're always going to have this. It's always going to be tainted. You can't make up for the L.
Yeah, see, Cody, he's a big Florida football fan, Florida sport
So-
guy.
So he's used to losing.
Yeah, well, yeah, he always brings up okay, whatever, 2000, whatever it was that they beat us in the
With
national
Ohio State's
championship
coach.
because Teddy Ginn got hurt, right out of the gate, and there was other factors that were stupid penalties and stuff that pushed the
You
momentum
got
to
no
that.
argument,
With Urban
truly.
Meyer. With
Come
an
on,
Urban Meyer, Ohio State's
Urban
coach.
and his wife all but said Ohio State was an easier job. The Big Ten is I will give it to you this now. Big Ten's a better conference now. Back then, Ohio State, less pressure, easier conference. That's why
Yes.
if Urban were here, Florida would have been the king of.
Yeah,
the,
that was such a long
college
time ago. I don't even remember those comments.
Truly,
That's where-
you're right. But Ted Ginn, because Ted Ginn would have kept Troy Smith from getting sacked 19 times.
Oh, and Tebow translated so well to the NFL.
Well,
Gee.
Troy Smith didn't either. Yeah. Nobody has any argument there.
Well, I would say Ohio State has more in recent years.
Yeah.
Eric and I talked about it. Ohio State is the better program, but the only argument I have, and it is a strong one, is that when Florida played Ohio State in national championships, basketball, football, and other bowl games, we are undefeated.
Yeah, you can't argue. that.
They are definitely a basketball school. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I think tennis. No, we have tennis. We can't say that. We always win the tennis championship.
Hockey.
Maybe foosball. Maybe the foosball.
If you want to break it down by everything schools, Florida's top more than Ohio State. They got better at baseball, softball, basketball.
I think we have the most important thing when it comes to college is that the graduation rate is higher at Ohio State.
You can't make that much stronger of an argument either. Florida was top 5 public school.
Yeah.
UF is strong academically.
You know what Florida does have? Turkeys. They have turkeys. They don't have turkeys.
That's true.
No grouse down there. You know why?
With that,
Too sensitive, fragile chicken like does not do well in the sun.
Cody.
You know what? Turkeys are emblematic of life in the North. Ugly. Dark.
Ugly.
Yeah.
Unhappy.
North of Ohio.
Oh shoot. Well, Brian, thanks for coming on and having this
Hey,
lighthearted
I
debate.
enjoyed it,
I don't
guys.
know what we accomplished or didn't
No, we had a
accomplish.
good time,
but
man.
It was fun. Cody and I will have to go back and do some more homework before we
Yeah,
have
this
this
is going to end up being like a 30-second episode after all the editing.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
it's
you
going to be
admit
nothing.
everything that we said is right.
It's going to be nothing but you and Cody talking. I'm not even going to be on it.
Yeah. No, thanks for coming on. Stay on for a second here afterwards here, Brian. But no, thanks for everybody tuning in. And hopefully everyone enjoys this lighthearted debate about who is the true king of spring.
I got one more thing. Sorry, not to cut you
go
off
ahead.
here.
Just hot off the pike.
What I will say is no matter what camp you're in, if you're on my camp that the Ruffed Grouse is, or Brian's that the Wild Turkey is, no matter what comes first on your list, take an interest and invest in the other.
Ooh.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Right?
I
Challenge.
think yeah. Challenge acceptable.
Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. That's a good point, because if you want to, like in politics, if you want to beat a conservative in an argument or beat a liberal in an argument, you have to know what the other is, where they're coming from, where they're talking. That way you can have an educated discussion on it. If you don't know about the other, all you're doing is want, you know? You don't know the strengths and weaknesses of your opponent, if you will. So, but anyway,
the thing with especially with this is like we're not arguing good versus evil. We're not arguing.
aren't we?
No, we're just arguing which one is the king of spring, which obviously the wild turkey is. Like, that's it. We're not saying rough grouse are bad. Like, once again, like I have harvested both of them. I've spent time chasing both of them. I mean, they are apples and oranges of that comparative. Like, they're two totally different.
Well, table fare, the rough grouse, we didn't talk about table fare. Table fare, the rough grouse just destroys the wild turkey when it comes to the quality of what you're eating.
Yeah, for an appetizer. But
oh my God.
Yes. Like, you put it on a cracker.
You're killing me, Smalls.
All right. It's a moosh boosh.
Well, that's it. The easiest way to do it is take a poll. Raise your hand. Rough grouse, king of spring. All present, raise your hand. 2. Wild
there
turkey,
was only
king
one person on the camera.
Right.
I told you I was already going into losing battle here. That's why I had to come up with that.
Yeah, I didn't do a very good job
nonsense.
moderating. I didn't like your tone. I didn't like your facts. I didn't like you, Brian.
Well, I just made it all up. Like, I didn't fact check anything.
Brian compared Eric to a car door and a Canada Goose.
Just tried to help with your viewership.
Yeah, we need help with that, trust me. Anyway, Brian, thanks for coming on. As usual, everybody, thank you for listening to the Give a Grouse podcast. We always enjoy coming and talking about stuff like this and having some. This is nice. This was fun. Something different. You don't have to be so serious all the time and stuff. And we need to do a better job doing more of this type of stuff and what have you. So yeah. So no, thanks everybody. Thanks Cody. Thanks Brian. Thanks for your time coming on. And as my grandpa always used to say, no worry, keep moving.